link. Here you can go to Spring Core. All examples that we do on daily basis, right? We have that examples here. What is Spring Core container, J2EE container, setter injection, constructor injection. Topic wise, each example is available. So what all you need to do is just import example. Just a minute, yes. Just a minute, yes. Yeah. So when you want to practice, right? I asked you to install Java and Eclipse, right? So you please install JDK and Eclipse. Okay. You all able to do this? Do you guys? Do you able to download and install them? Or do you want me to share links for JDK and Eclipse? You can install JDK 1.8 or any new version. And same way you can download any new version of Eclipse. Any version should be fine. So if you want, I'll share that links also. You just need to sign up for JDK download. Java SE8 archive downloads. Windows 64. So in this link you can download JDK 1.8. If you need any new version, you can refer the same website. They offer all new versions. Okay. Yeah. Now coming to Eclipse. Download any latest version. Yeah. You can get this one. Okay. Eclipse for Mac and Windows. This is for .exe, right? Okay. So this is Windows file only. Just copy. Okay. So let me put this here in the chat. Okay, I shared this installation paths. Okay, you please download them. Still, if you see any issues, let me know. Okay. So once after installing with this software, right? Let me know. For your practice, right? Go to this link. I shared my examples link, right? So go there. First to download jar files. Okay, for your practice. First, you need to download these jars. As soon as you click here, right, it downloads all the jars which I have. So jars got imported, downloaded here, and one example also I download. First one. Okay, here. Now examples and jars both got downloaded here. So you just extract both. Okay, here WinRAR I used for it, so you can use WinRAR to extract it. This is simple zip only. So extract them. So all jar files you'll be getting here. MySQL connector, RKill, and DB2 connectors also are included here. You can see them. RKill dependency, Tomcat DBCP jar file. Okay, everything available here, including MySQL connector. So these jar files are sufficient for you until MVC. Until completing MVC, right? You can use all these jars until completing your MVC module. As soon as we shift to Spring Boot microservices, we will use form-based dependencies. Maven. Via Maven, we do that practice. Okay. For simple Spring framework, use this jar files. I'll tell you how to use them. Same way, extract your example also. Okay. First, extract with your jars and extract your example also. So now both I got here. Open Eclipse. Okay. So as soon as you open with Eclipse, just okay. So if you don't have any projects, just go to File, use Import option. Here you have General option. If you see, the first option is General. Open this and use existing project into Workspace. All projects are simple general projects only. Okay, not Maven projects. If it is a Maven project, you can import using this Maven option. For Gradle, you can use this Gradle option. Okay, so for now, I am getting importing via general project, existing project into Workspace. Click on it, browse, so just select this folder, import it. So first import your example here. Okay, Spring Core IOC example, import it. Still it is showing errors, right? That error may be because of jars unavailability Before upload, it used to have my mission jars path, right? So it is saying that path is not available now. So remove them as soon as you import, right? Go to build path. So here you see error, right? Remove them, just remove. And whichever JDK version you want, 1.8 if you want, go to alternate JREs, choose your 1.8 JDK. Yeah. Now it is giving a reasonable errors here. The error is coming for this library is not available. This importing library is saying not available. Import Spring Framework, this class, this class, this class are not available because the jar files are not there. So now go to build path, configure build path. As we already downloaded this jars, right? Go to your jars folder, Spring 3.0 jars we have here. After extraction, you will get all these jars. Select them, click on open. All the jars will be added to your class path. Finish. So for this example, all errors gone. Now you can go to each example. Inside beans you will find a simple poso class, test poso class with the constructor. And as soon as we implement poso classes, we configure them into XML file. So using Spring XML file, I am configuring my bean class here with ID. Now load that XML into IOC container using bean factory core container. Right, there are three types of containers: core, J2EE, web. Web we will see it in MVC. This is core container, which is very lazy. Until unless you call for a bean, it will not create any object. Debug mode. You guys can run on direct run mode, but if you want to see what happening line by line, right, you can run it in debug mode. You have two options here: run, debug. Developers should habituate to use debug option more than run option. Okay, so more than run option, use the debug option. Instead of run as Java application, use run as debug as Java application. So I set one debug pointer here. Okay, so your execution will come till here and it will stop there. Debug mode is very important, okay, for developers. Now your control came here, right? Java execution stopped here. So as of now, just it read with your file resource, reading your file. Thereafter, I'm loading that resource into core container. So if you want to go to next line, right, you need to use this step over F6. Click here. Yeah. So now Bean Factory loaded your XML file. Your core container loaded XML file. No object created. No object created. As soon as I finish with get bean, this line, right, first line, line number 18, it will create object, right? Until you request, it will not create object. Go next, next. You ask any number of times, it is producing one object only. If it is a core Java practice, you must have created by this time 4 objects. But Spring is handling that object creation. Instead, you doing it, Spring doing it for you. So as Spring is doing that object creation for you, Spring know that Prototype objects are not required. Means for every request new object is not at all required. It will unnecessarily occupy lot of memory. So one single object created, you ask for 1 lakh times also. Yesterday in my project discussion I saw during this big billion day or the festivals, right? Flipkart or Amazon, getting concurrent request means for every second they are getting up to 1.6 million approximately. Means 16 lakhs concurrent request for every second during their peaks time. 1.6 means 16 lakhs request they are getting for each second. Background they will have same code. 16 lakhs people call or 2 crores or 10 crores users request application. Okay, code is same code only. The same code only will execute for everybody. Order controller or view products. Usually as soon as you go to Amazon.com or somewhere, excuse me. So as soon as you open it, right, they are showing all the offers and all the products, including your details. All these details are getting loaded from backend controllers. So how many controller service DO objects usually the background code need to create? If I log in here, if I enter here, for me it need to create one object. For you it should create one object. For 1.6 million people, if you try to create object, their hardware will not support. So instead for every user request recreating this, right? You guys also try Amazon.in. You also see the same banner, same products. Maybe here this section, right? Your interested products it is showing. So lastly I searched for laptop and processors. So that two products here it is showing. Apart from that, it will show the same common products, kitchen items and all. Same objects only created in the background. Means whatever classes you have implemented, for your classes one object only it will create. Though millions requests come to your application also. The reason is single object is sufficient for your web application. For web application, single object is sufficient because already they are thread safe. Because your web applications are thread safe. Okay, so one object is sufficient. For each user, it will use one separate thread. Via thread, your data goes to backend. So you need not to worry about singleton object. Only one object it will created for you. If I take Amazon itself as an example, Amazon or Flipkart, consider they have classes like this here: order or products controller class. As per MVC, how we will implement our application? So first Amazon.in is a view. Okay, there it is showing index.html or view products.html. As soon as you load Amazon.in, it is showing you view products.html. For that products in the background, right, there will be one controller and there will be one service and there is one DAO, right? Your request will go to controller. Controller will forward that request to service, separate classes one, and service to DAO. So you will be implementing by following MVC architecture. You will be having presentation controller service DAO. As soon as user request to view the products considered this festive season, many people are requesting concurrently. Since morning to night, consider here 1.6 million people are hitting concurrently. Concurrent. Concurrent request means parallel request. Concurrent, parallelly 1.6 million people are hitting this view product page. As soon as you request for view product, in the background you have three more classes to bring your data from database. Whatever products you have in Amazon, right? Amazon stored all that products data into their database, and images and all will be coming from a separate CDNs. It will not ask your application. Some blob storages, AWS image storages. From AWS image storages, it will get images. Directly view will be rendered as soon as this user request, right, in his browser for 1.6 million users, right? As soon as you click here, products data, it will bring from database all products details, product name, product cost, mainly whatever you are seeing here, right? All the details for each product. On first page, it is showing each product and their percentage offer, not much details. Name, their image, offer percentage. Let's say you have the details here, and only this data will get here. Image URL only it will put here. Name something, phone, iPhone 15, and the path, image path, and offer. How much percentage? 10% offer or 20% offer. That details I have here. As soon as you go and load this page, first it will bring the details to your page. So as a response, it will read this data. DAO will read data from database. DAO will give it back to service. Service will give it back to controller. Controller will try to render it into your screen. During rendering, what it will do? Name it will display here. Whoever is working on UI, right? That people will render name here. I mean, during coding, they do that. The same thing will display for you. Okay. So the name and image it will show here. It will show image here. The picture it will put here. So for this image URL only it will get here. Image URL when you append here, basically it will load from image server, and the percentage also it will display here. Whatever percentage you are sending. Usually images and files will not stored into database. We prefer blob storages. From there your images also will be loaded. Just to make sure your application to work faster. Okay. Now in the background, right, 1.6 million people are doing these calls every time. 1 million people are requesting for every second. In the background, right, you have implemented your classes. These classes objects, how many it should create? Amazon might have a server here with the 32 GB RAM or 64. Ideally, there would be some configuration. Beyond that, if they put over configuration also, that is not going to help to their application. Okay, 1 TB of memory they have, 1 TB of physical memory, and 64 GB of RAM they have. Okay, so they need to use that memory wisely here. Okay, so if they use prototype model here, controller service DO objects, this RAM is not sufficient for 1.6 million people. So if you see ideally, right, how much space a Java object Java object required memory. An object with one field, including Java date, will take up to 24 bytes. 12 bytes of header, 8 bytes of data, 8 bytes of padding roundup. They are saying about simple one field object, 24 bytes. Consider you have 10 fields, it may go up to 200 bytes. Okay, 200 bytes for each class. Just a small example, 200 bytes for your controller. You have product controller, variables. Variables you declared in your method level, class level. For everything, a memory is required, right? While carrying front and back, it should remember somewhere. A computer will remember your data and it will perform calculations on your data, right? So, if you consider for each user request 200 bytes memory required for controller, I'm just giving a rough example, okay? Service dog. For one request, Naveen wake up in the morning and he requested for him if it is taking 600 bytes. You know, right? Bytes to MB or bytes to KB. You can convert calculator. So here if I'm consuming 600 bytes, it is taking up to 6 megabyte. So 600 into 1000 if I add 1000 people if they request. 1, 2, 3 more. So for 1000, for 6000 users request, it is taking up to 0.6. If I take for 6 lakhs, 6 MB, 60 lakhs, 60 MB. Concurrent request they are saying, right? Concurrently 1.6 million users they are getting 16 lakhs for every second. So for every second itself, it is going to consume up to 16 megabytes for every second. If it is a small class with the 10 fields, but Amazon kind of application, if you visit, not only 10 fields, they might have for each, right? They might have hundreds of fields. So small memory may not at all sufficient. If you do here, if you are creating prototype objects for one request itself, 60 lakhs people if they request, it is taking 600 bytes. So per day, per hour itself, 60 into 60 for each minute, right? 60 into 60, I don't know, it will go beyond limits. For each minute itself, it needs lot of megabytes, lot of MBs memory. So really maintaining that much memory in the server is impossible task. We can't maintain. We can't balance that load even. That much load we can't balance it. So if you don't know this singleton model, if you unnecessarily create your objects on the fly by using new keyword, it will consume lot of memory in your production server. Okay. So instead of consuming lot of memory, right? What Spring is doing here, only one object it is creating for you. 1.6 or 2.6 or 10.6. Let them request any number of concurrent requests let come from UI. Your backend application doesn't worry about it. It will say come as many as you want to send it. The only worry part is here whatever Tomcat that you have, right, that should be configured maximum threads. Tomcat or WebLogic, whatever server they have, it should worry about maximum concurrent request. So here you should configure how many concurrent requests you want to take per second. Okay. So if single Tomcat is not sufficient, then you can put load balancers in that case. Means for every request, right, if you see this Tomcat is busy, you may redirect to another Tomcat. we can have same code clones. In one server can handle, consider 2 million users. Okay, so each second itself I am getting 1 million request here to the server. So you may put one more server, one more Tomcat, and you can balance your load. If you put load balancer, right, load balancer will do what? Always it will check which is load and which is not having load. It will shift easily your request to from one server to another server. Okay, that concept we will see it in microservices, how we can balance the load and all. For now, how better I can manage my objects, that we need to see. Okay, so here Spring is doing what? It is not creating many objects. If you consider line number 18 requested by one user, line number 19, let's say if it is a concurrent request, we will not having this many lines of code. Same code only will be executed for number of users. As that is not possible to show you here, I am adding multiple lines calls here. So as soon as I call here, what it is doing, on the first call only it is creating object, and even if I go to the next call with the same ID, it is not recreating object, same object only it is consuming. So finally what you can realize, when you check these objects, right, all these objects are equal. True, 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 true statement. Because all of them are singletons by default. Okay. So how you can change that scope if you don't want singleton and if you want to recreate new object every time? Prototype. If you mention here, just a minute please. Okay. So if you use prototype, now what it will do, for every request it will recreate new object. Run it in debug mode and see. 16th line, loading your XML file. Okay. Now control should come to, yeah, line number 80. So line number 18 not executed it. Let's execute. So it created one test object. So just imagine one person logged into Amazon. For him it created one object. And one more person immediately logged in. Concurrently they are logging in. So for him also one more object. Next person, next person. So for 4 of them new objects created. So if it is 1 million, 1 million new objects it will create. Where all these objects will reside? In your RAM only. So definitely your RAM will be crashed. Why same object, right? Why you should create unnecessarily this many times? Need not. One object is enough. So it is showing all these objects are not equal. Means new object, new space occupied in your JVM. That's why it is showing false. When two objects compared with equals, it should say true if their addresses are equal. It is saying their addresses are not equal. Means different memories it is occupied. For Naveen it occupied one memory, for other person it occupied one memory, right? For everybody it occupied new memory in your RAM. So it is saying they are not belongs to same address. That means prototype objects it is creating. Prototype objects are not at all recommended. Prototype objects are not at all recommended. Singleton only recommended. Okay. If it is singleton recommended, don't we have any problems in application? Never. You will not see any problems. The reason is, during writing your code, right? During writing your code, controller code or service code or DAO code, listen this carefully. While writing your code, right? While writing your code, mostly controller or services or DAOs we designed for views, right? I am getting a view here. Let's a registration form. View. I have a form here. Okay. Just uh, let me see. Amazon.in incognito. Okay, sign in. New customer, start here. So it is asking to enter data. Let's say you have similar form. Okay, Let's say if you have similar form for your application. Hmm. Yeah. So I have this form. As soon as I click on submit button here, create account, I'll be entering name, mobile number, email, password, and click on continue button. So this will go to the registration controller in the background. Registration controller. So which method will execute for it? Out of your class, there should be one method. Within your class itself, there should be a method. That method should be executed. I have a controller here, registration controller. From my registration controller, there I should have a method. This much is okay. Okay. So in my class, I will be having a method to read this data. First name, mobile number, email, password. So register method I'll be having here with name variable input, mobile number input, and email input, password. With all these fields, I will be having a method here, controller method. Registration method with name, email, mobile, password inputs. So don't I have any problem with this method if my object is singleton? Only one object is created for me. Only one object created in the RAM. Only one object is there for you. Registration controller. Right? I have one object here, registration controller. Method level variables will not store into heap, right? This is heap memory. Your object is safe. Inside heap, it will store your controller. And in your method area or stack area, we have multiple areas again, right? Method area. In this method area, you will be having your methods data. So how many methods data it will keep here? If Naveen request with his name, email, password, when he request here with this data, if he fill his data here and if he request it, the call will go here, name with name, email address, and in this method area, it will take a separate memory for him. His name, email, address will be stored here. And one more user request, what happens for him? One more separate memory it will take. So as soon as you request, right, for each user it will occupy different memory. Method area is thread safe. Method area is thread safe. Your data is not going to override by another user. For each user, let them, from here, Naveen, Akash, you know, Prem, let any number of users request here. Okay. So for each one of them, object is one. Controller object is one. In method area, they will arrange different. In method area, they will arrange different memory for them. So you need not to worry about your method level variables. You need not to worry about your method level variables because it will provide a new memory every time. So as soon as you send your data from here, it can do all read operations, validations it can do. Okay. For you, it will execute validations, your validations. For Akash validations. For Prem validations, it will execute. Let's say Naveen missed mobile number, it will say please enter mobile number. If Akash entered, wrong password or password is not supported for him, password not supported, validation errors, it will say. Prem, if you do something wrong, he will send for Prem different error messages. So for each one of you, this method level code will execute personally, though your class is singleton. These methods are always like prototype only. Methods are always prototype. Classes, though your classes are singleton, methods are prototype. Which means whatever variables you entered here and whatever code is executing for you here, that is only for you. For your request, it will execute. Same time, if other users request coming here into this method also, you need not to worry. For you, it will occupy different memory. For him, it will occupy again different memory. So you need not to worry about your method level data. But during composing your class, during writing your class, whatever variables you put in class level, right? While writing a Java class, usually we will put class level variables also. This name, email, address, whichever fields are coming from the user. User variables don't declare into the class level. For user operations, right? For user specific operations. For user input, for user input details, don't declare any class level, instance level variables and assign to them. Let's say name, email, address I have on the instance level. Naveen entered his details and immediately with my skills I assigned to class level variable. I showed all my skills and assigned to class level variables. What will happen? In heap it will create your name and whatever name you entered, right, Naveen, it will store here. And immediately Akash request here, what it will do, before my operation completed, concurrent users request came. Naveen override with Akash. Akash override with Prem. Let's say 1.6 million people requested. The last person is XYZ. XYZ requested at the end. So all your data will be gone. Finally, XYZ only will be sit into this controller object. So meanwhile, your operations, DB operations not yet executed, and if you make a call, right, in place of your name, for everybody it will store XYZ. So while declaring instance level variables, you should be careful. In simple words, I'll tell you the key here. What you can declare is in instance level, right? In instance level variables are always developer inputs. These variables always should be configuration inputs. Configuration variables we should put here. And who do that? Only developer. During development, developer variables we should put here. Developer variables. Of course, methods also will be created by developers only, but developer variables means not the user inputs, not related to user inputs, not related to user data. This is for application purpose. For your application purpose, you need to declare your variables here. For application purpose, you need to declare your variables here. What variables will come for application purpose here? Maybe your database configurations, if it is a DAO, database connection properties. Will you ask connection properties from end user? No, we will declare them. Who will pass? Developer. During development time, he will pass that parameters. So during declaration of instance level variables, always those variables are configuration properties, like DB properties is one example. If it is a DAO, DB properties is one example for developer inputs. Database properties, driver name, URL, username, password. For your DAO, those are developer inputs. You need not to bother front-end user to enter DB properties. He never enter, right? Front-end, from front-end, he will come for a purpose. He will log in and he will search product and he will buy. Who should enter these DB properties? You. During development time, you should do this. DB properties as a variables you can have here. Thereafter, you can have methods like this. Save. User inputs always via methods only. They will come here. User name, user details, right? Email, his address. Always, as I said, right? Your method area variables are thread safe. So you need not worry about them. With singleton prototype, you need not to stretch your update, delete. You can have any number of methods here with the user inputs. And inside these methods, you can utilize these DB properties to open your connections and to open connections and to do CRUD operations. Right, you can use that properties there. And coming to service also may need some inputs. Service also may need some variables here. Service class, right? Service class wants to talk with DAO. So DAO you can create here as a reference. DAO maybe you need here DAO object. Let's say if you don't know Spring, you may need to create that new DAO object here. So who will call this DAO? From your service methods, right? I have create method, the data coming from controller, name, email, address. From here I want to call save method of DAO. So declare the DAO here, d dot call save method, pass name, email, address. So method level, whatever common data you required, right? That you can put it in instance level. For many methods, I need same DO object. For create, update, delete, I need same DO object. So declare it in instance level. For all database CRUD operations, I need DB properties. So declare them in instance level. And for all registration or update related methods, right? I need this service object here. So you can put service here reference. Service is equal to new service. Instance level. So you can use s dot, you can call create method and supply the same data, name, email, address, whatever you have. So this is how you can establish connection between them and declare your variables. So now call from here, it will go here, from here it will go here, and finally your data will be inserted into database, right? So class level variables are always developer variables. Okay, don't club developer variables with user inputs. If it is for user input purpose, if it is modifying user input, I mean if you are modifying something which you declared in the instance level, right? Don't declare them. Keep it in a method level itself. If it is for a user purpose, if it is for end user purpose, end user always will enter his data from forms frontend. Developer always will declare his data here, and this data also, right? He need not to hard code, right? This objects you need not to create new using new keyword. As already IOC is creating that objects, developer variables you can inject via dependency injection. As I was, you know, telling you yesterday, right? Dependency injection concept will help you to inject the data. Okay, more in-depth discussion we will do. Okay, tomorrow. Okay, before going to start this, you should have crystal clarity what variables I need to inject during dependency injection. People will ask, right, sometimes, how these user inputs I can able to inject. User inputs you never inject. User inputs we never inject. Developer only will inject them. So if you see this, such use cases, right, you will get realize who will inject actually data here, what variables I can inject here. Okay, so the dependency injection concept we use to inject developers data during development time, whatever configurations you require, right? That configurations will be passed by our dependency injection, and user inputs always will come to your methods. As soon as you click on buttons, we map them to methods to methods only, the flow will goes. Okay, so you need not to worry about prototype objects. Singletons are sufficient because every user data separately it will store it into a new thread. Your Tomcat or WebLogic, they will maintain separate thread. Your data it will maintain into separate thread, my data into separate thread. So they are thread safe. So at a time 1 million requests coming here also, you need not to worry. For each user it will maintain a separate thread. Via that thread only your data will be carry forwarded. So you need not to worry. Your data is safe. Okay, so that's the reason for enterprise applications, singleton objects are sufficient. For your web applications or enterprise applications, right? One object is bus enough. One object is enough, sufficient. Singleton is recommended. That's why. Okay. If somebody asks which scope is required for application, say singleton. If they ask why, explain the story. Okay. Take 20-30 minutes and explain it. Yeah. Uh, that's it. Tomorrow we will see dependency injection. Okay. Yeah. One by one. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. You complete. Hmm. No. 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 Dependency injection is not going to nothing to do with user data. User just we create objects and developer fields. Let's say I need database configurations for my DAO. What configurations required for DAO? Tell me for right database operations. For CRUD operations, connection is required, right? To create connection, what properties you need? Driver name, driver name, URL, username, password. These are your developer inputs. During development time, you do that. Or will you imagine that Navin will come in feature for him? I need to do the dependency injection. No, you never worry about user. You just worry about you. Your properties only you will inject from XML file. All these properties, right? Developer inputs one time only. During development time, he will put all his inputs. Developer inputs via dependency injection. He will inject from XML file one time. Today you implemented application with all this dependency injection. That's it. Not fetching, injecting. From XML file, IOC will inject. Reading is different, injecting is different. IOC will inject them directly. All your developer inputs, right? Whatever you put here, it will take that parameters to your class and it will inject. Like vaccine, how we injected, right? Similarly, it will inject it to you, to your class. It will inject. Instead, you read it, it will give it to you. Okay. So developer inputs only we inject from XML file. Always user inputs will come from front end. User inputs always will go to the methods only, no other place. Always user inputs travel via methods only. Methods are for users. Methods are for users. Method inputs will come from users only. Okay. Class level variables will come from developers. You need to remember this. Class level variables will come from the developers. Method level variables coming from users only. Okay. So that to class level developer variables, right? You can inject from XML file. That is what dependency injection. Clear? One time effort. During development time only you do that. That's it. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So who's next? By default, singleton. Default, by default. If you even don't declare also, scope is singleton. Scope is singleton. Don't worry about it and never imagine to change it. But singleton. Okay. For interview's sake, remember this scope equal to prototype. That's it. Prototype means for every request it will create new object and not at all recommended. Okay. Yes. When your scope is prototype, only for user. Whenever user request, right, then only it will create object. Every time new object, brand new object. If it is a prototype, as soon as you call get bean, get bean, get bean, get bean, it will create new object every time. Okay. If it is a singleton, only at first get bean request only. First time when you call get bean only, it will create. If it is a core container, instead of this core container, there is one more flavor, right? I can use application. If it is a bean factory, until you call first time, it will not create object. Singleton only, but first time it will create. But if I use instead of bean factory, if I use application context as a factory here, new class path XML application context. This is going to create object while loading time only. That is the difference between this both. This is old container, this is new container, J2W. We call this one as a core and this one as a J2W. Okay, this is J2W container and this is core container. Okay, so J2W container, during loading time only it will create object. Earlier we used to create object at get bean method, right? Now if you see, run it in debug mode and see during loading time only at line number 19 itself. If I execute line number 19, right, object is created. At line number 19 itself it is created your object. Means during application startup itself it will create all your objects. And when users call for the bean, for a user internally architecture will call your bean. For every user request, right, it needs your object and it should call methods. So let it 1 million users request, it doesn't bother about it. It will create one object only. Bus sufficient. During loading time it is created, right? Same object it will give it to you. Okay, that is the difference between both core and J2W, right? Yeah. Any more questions? No, we are not bothering about them now. Okay, we will see it later in MVC. Okay. Yeah. Yes, in depth. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Huh. Okay, client. Yeah, here I have main method actually. This is my main method class just to practice my container, right? To check my container, I'm using main method just to practice. But in real time, do you have main method? No. If it is Spring Boot, yes, they came up with main method concept. But in web applications, earlier we never imagined about main. Always servlets used to create, you know, all the infrastructure. So I don't have that servlets now. Main I am using. Yeah. Yeah. Both are not same. Core container is never create object until you request. Okay. On demand it will create object. On demand only bean factory will create object. Whereas application context will create immediately as soon as you load it. So, as soon as you start your application. That is the main difference. And J2EE container is having so many advanced features like annotations and all supported here, not here. Okay. And in real time we use this one only. Initially, when they started designing, they started with Bean Factory, and later they realized they need to add many features, and they added all that into this class path XML application context. This is only having all the features going forward, whichever we discuss. Yeah, correct, correct. For interviews only, you must need that, but otherwise, don't worry about Bean Factory. When they ask how many containers, say Bean Factory, application context, web application context. Bean Factory is a core container, application context is a J2EE container, web application context is a web container. That's it. Spring 3 I used here. Spring 3 libraries. And the Spring current release is almost 5x, 6x release. Okay. But features are common. You can use. No worries. Same stuff only we have there also. Some advanced features we have. Hmm? Sorry. Yeah, this is stable version, correct. 3x is stable version. And in Spring Boot, right, current boot version is using Spring 6. Spring 6 libraries they are using. Okay. So don't worry about which version I'm using here, because end of the day you're going to use Spring Boot. There you nothing, nothing to worry about your version. But whatever new features we have or common features we have, that only we discussed here. Okay. So nothing to do with your version here. Okay. That's all, guys. Okay. So yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Hmm. Exactly. Hmm. Correct. Yeah. Correct. Prototype also similar to that. So how you are unnecessarily creating objects, right? Prototype also will do the same. For every request, it will create a brand new object. M- Maybe for standalone cases or threads scenarios, prototype required, but 99.999% prototype we never use. If it is a threads based application, if you want a brand new object every time, then only we use that. But right, as I said, mostly singleton. If you see prototype somewhere, ask a question why prototype is declined. Okay. Guys, I'm done for today. Okay, if you have any questions, just park it for tomorrow. We will see them tomorrow. Okay. Uh, yeah. If you have any doubts, reach out to me. I'll be available on WhatsApp. Okay. Thank you all. See you tomorrow. And then good day. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Material, I'll be sharing it with you. Okay. So let's you all settle. Tomorrow I'll share it. Yesterday itself, I thought to show it you. Right. Let me show it to you quickly. Okay. So this is our Spring Boot material. I mean, you'll be getting everything. Spring Boot microservices. Okay. So each topic and their example as a zip file you can find them. Okay. Spring Framework, Spring Boot, microservice. So just go through each concept, read it, and just download this example. In the attachment itself, you will be having this example. Just click here and maybe you can save somewhere wherever you want. Just if you do double click, right, it will save it into your memory. Okay. And you can practice from here, or else you can download examples from our blog also. Okay. Thing is, everything will be available here from the session. Just all you need to do is your attention, what I'm discussing, what I'm concluding. Okay. Yeah. And coming to examples, easy, download, run and see. Once after running with the example, right, same example you need to practice. Maybe you need to create a new project, then similar way you should try yourself, maybe by declaring different class names, so that you will get confidence on each topic. Okay. And in the other hand, you'll be having notes, videos, examples, everything, right, nothing going to miss from our end. What you need to do is your conclusion, end of each topic you might conclude it yourself, right? You note or you create your own material or book that you need to do for yourself, that is your bible. Okay. So whenever you want to go for interviews or whenever you have doubts, your material you should refer. That's how you need to prepare yourself. Okay. Yeah.